Yo, so it's actually like 4 p.m. This morning I glued the center belts, and I just couldn't wait. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get these ready for tomorrow at 7 a.m. So yeah, I mean my work day is like 7 in the morning till 3. I mean, that's like minimum, right? So 8 hours, right? I mean, with a 15-minute siesta, a half-hour lunch and a 15-minute siesta. Because you have to take a siesta in Spain. It's unacceptable not to. And it's a great thing that everyone accepts it. So, yeah. There's some important things that I forgot this morning. When you're gluing your seatbelts, you want to make sure that this is completely flat on the board. And I'm going to show you why. I actually had you remember this is the one that I tossed because it was too thick. It wasn't that it was too thick. It was that it was too thin on this side and it wasn't uniform. So when I bent it, it wasn't hot enough also. Remember, it's important to heat up your whole rib and then bend in the spot. Not just heat this spot, you know. So I already said that. Anyway, very important. There is no air shining through here. There are no gaps under here. And the reason for that is because I'm gonna cut away this excess rib and get ready to bend my lower belts tomorrow morning. So, rule number 1, you want to use very sharp tools for doing this, right? Your first phase is going to be to take your knife and cut a pretty decent distance away from the block just to be safe. If you're doing it for the first time, I would recommend cutting quite a ways away, you know. But since I know what I'm doing, I'm gonna cut pretty close, but yeah, about like that is what I'm gonna do. All right, so I'm just cutting away the excess. You bend it this way, you see? And now you can just go pop and it will pop, it will snap off. Okay. So I just spent this is really important. If you have any gaps here, when I'm cutting down on this part with the chisel, there's a chance that it will break away. And it possibly could break away, so let's just see what happens. No, that's good. That's good. Yeah, so my chisel is nice and sharp. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm looking at this curve. Let's see if I can get a better view here. I'm looking at the curve of the block, and I'm taking the angle of the chisel and cutting down this way very carefully. Right? Got a little bit of breakout here. Little cutting right up to the block. The angle, the way that you turn it this way or this way, is reflecting this rib miter that you want to make, okay? So take your time. Take your time. Right? Nice, clean, confident, even cut. So now that's really close to my tip, the tip of the corner. Right? So now that's getting ready for when I bend this. These are some scraps. This will bend and make a rib miter. You see what I mean? So, well, I can't take this music. It's just terrible. guy gonna sing? Let's try the other side. The music is... So if you want the pain to stop, comment below and tell YouTube to allow me to play whatever music I want. Otherwise, this is going to go on and on and on. Yeah, so I'm getting ready. Same thing here. I'm going like, just to give you a guide. I would say a safe distance from the block is about 6, 7. And the reason you do that is because when this breaks off, you don't want it to break off near the corner. You want to preserve that wood. So I'm just eyeballing it. That's about 6. Does this loser ever sing? Is this just I just bought this record today. Okay, great example. I'm just cutting it, and this sort of splintered off this way towards the block. You don't want that. So that's why you're far away from your block itself, right? Actually, now I can come on the other side. Wow, okay. Getting a little bit of breakout. And by breakout, I mean that it's not cutting clean. In order to get a nice rib miter, you want nice clean lines. Right, again, so the angle of the chisel this way is anticipating the curve of this, right? Take your time. Yeah, this could be a little sharper. Just anticipating that corner. And I'm going right up to it. So this is not done. And the reason why you don't have that gap is because if there's a space down here, it will crack. Another reason, you make your blocks higher than you want to actually do. And I'll explain that later in a different video. Because when all this has come together, you're going to take your plane, right? So then if you got a little breakout, it's okay because that's going to come away. Same thing for the other side. Does that make sense? Right, so I'll finish. This guy is terrible, man. I don't know if I can work to this guy. He sucks. I mean, it's obviously slower. The music is slower because I'm so paranoid of... Anyway, let's keep going. The finishing part, I'll often just use my perfume top, you know? So this thing I've had for, I think, over 15 years. It's just a perfume top. If you make terrible perfumes, actually that doesn't fit that, but, right? So I got my perfume top. You know why? It's because this fits almost perfectly. I mean, you can look for round objects in your life. Yeah. And this is something I will do tomorrow morning. This is your last chance to get this curve right. You notice how you're looking at the block, this curve is just right anticipating that pencil line. If this is sticking out, if this curve is going out this way or pointing too far this way, the rib is gonna like bend way out off the line. I don't know if I'm explaining that right. Anyway, so keep going. I noticed there's a slight little gap on this one. Can you guys hear this? This music is terrible. I'm gonna change it, sorry. Dude, you suck. Look at, the record company dyed his highlights the same color as the jacket? Like, was that a plan? We're switching to, yay! Yeah, so I see a gap here. Boop. So, again, the angle of my chisel, anticipating the angle. Yeah, I'm gonna have to, there is a little bit of, it's okay actually, I can keep going. Yeah, what I may do is cut this video and make one long video, because yeah. Also, I'm realizing now it's cutting nice. You know, wood is organic. It's not always going to cut the same way in a different space. A different part of the tree is going to cut differently, you know. There are no guarantees. I can also see that the grain is right. The main thing is to point out, I'm going to cut this and then paste the videos together. It's like me trying to talk about film editing. I went to film school. Sorry for my shirt. I went to film school in the 1980s. I can't remember. Anyway, I studied under the great filmmaker. I think her name was Joan Strummer. And we learned filmmaking on Bolex cameras, like the wind-up Bolex cameras. That's how old I am. Anyway, I'll cut this and we're gonna put these videos on the Moviola. You know, this machine that edits film together with the pedals. You remember that? Okay. Okay, actually, I've been up for a few hours. I had a dream that a large corporation in California was restricting my personal expression with copyright crap. Strange dream. Just forget about that and keep going. So, actually what I did this morning was I made these Zulager. I don't know the English. If you do, please tell me. It's not going to be a single word, but they're basically just, it's the reverse shape of your corner block. And what it does is it assists you in clamping, because when you're doing the C's, the actual pressure, really, if you're good at bending, you really almost don't even need clamps, you know. But it's just really helpful, you know. I mean, I obviously always use clamps. These are from Mittenwald. So they have done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of violins before I got them. And they're great. So, yeah, I'm looking at some of these pieces, and you've got some, this one is fine, you've got some little flaws, so we're just gonna roll and see what happens. This is really fun, what I'm doing, and it's much easier than doing C bouts, because you're just bending, you're basically just bending, this one I've kind of already got started. You're bending just like you did yesterday, starting the C bout. Yeah. Where's the iron? The iron's gonna have to be off screen, I'm afraid. Yeah, it's the same as doing your corner bout. You're starting here, and now, when you have this bent, sorry, I need more coffee. You're looking at how the line goes out this way as compared to the pencil line. So instead of making a C, you're just making this fit into your right about there, so that the line of the rib is closely reflecting the pencil line that you're after. Then you mark it here. Yeah. You can also mark it on that side. And you're looking at the spot where it's not matching the line, you see? And you can either just hold it, I usually just hold it with my fingers, but you can also just make a little line on the inside. So that's where you need to start bending, because this is where it needs to curve around. So remember, you're heating all of your rib. You can't see the iron, but take my word for it. You're getting the rib nice and hot, the whole surface of the rib. This may not work because we got this little weird tree branch where a bird landed. And what I'm doing is a nice smooth bend, as opposed to a C bout. A nice smooth shape of a viola, right? So, and the main thing is, so this may just work actually, because the little flaw is actually on the block. Okay, so what's going on? My pencil line is here. Right, so yeah, I'm pretty much, you can see, here's the line, here's the rib. So I need to bend again here, pretty much in the same spot. It's just, yeah, I just hold it with my fingers, you know. I know I need to bend there. I don't need to put a bunch of lines on there, although I don't care what the inside looks like. I really don't care. So just bending it around, a nice smooth. All right, compare it again. All right, so this will work. But there's still a little bit of tension here. I don't know if you can see it. When I let go, you see what happens? That's actually acceptable. What you don't want is to, when you're when you're bending here, you don't want to just like stretch. You know, you don't want to push that tension in. That's a little. It's easy to fix that, right? So. Yeah, it's pretty much the same spot. Let's see if we can. I can't see anything. So there's the iron. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna spot bend. Before I was doing a whole motion like this. So let's just spot bend right in that area. You get the whole thing hot. Remember, don't forget. Get the whole thing hot. And let's just, there we are, slowly. You can do tiny little bends, tiny little bends. And then compare it to your line, then take it back. There's no hurry. There is no hurry. Right? That looks pretty damn good. So, what we do, yeah, actually right there is really good. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is double mark it. Boom, 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 right? So you got a nice thick, thick, thick pencil line. Then you take your Zulage, yeah? This fits on this corner. I might have to go from this side. This is the second thing that you should remember. Always dry clamp. You think, oh wow, that looks great. I'm gonna glue it. Always dry clamp it first. When you're clamping, right? There's a little bit of tension in there, but let me just look. Right. So then you're going to mark where the center of your block is, right? And you're going to cut right here. But before I do that, I'm going to put a pencil line here, pencil line here. And this is a different kind of Zulage. It fits right here. Well, it fits this way right here. Yeah, so. And you want to dry clamp without glue. This is a rule for anything in violin making. Before you glue, look, I got it the wrong way again. Right? That fits better. Always dry clamp. Dry clamp everything. Because what happens, I call it in the heat of gluing, in the heat of battle, you know? When you're gluing something, it can creep, it can do strange things. Gluing dry is different from gluing with clamps. Hey, you know what I could also do is I can glue this and then cut it later. But yeah, so that looks good. Another thing to remember, and this was into that, is make sure that there are no gaps. When you're clamping, dry clamping and clamping with glue, you want to push down on the ribbon, make sure that it's flat. Flat on the dummy board, that you don't have any gaps here. I mean, if you have a tiny bit of air flowing through there, it's going to be fine, because in the end you're going to be planing. The rib is higher than the block, right now. So in the end, you're going to be planing all of this. That's the next, video. So, I can almost glue that. Let me just check my glue really quick. Okay, can you see the glue? Yes, you can. This glue is too thick. So what I have is a bain-marie, a water bath, and the glue is 2 to 1. 1 part glue for two parts water usually. But this has dried out a little bit from yesterday. The glue is dried out. So I'm just adding like a spoon of hot water. And what you're looking for with your glue is you want it to run off the brush. But you don't want it too thin. It's a little bit thin. Let me see. Let me just see how it feels. No, that's okay. Okay. So when you're testing your glue, you can do this. And you should get, if you're getting like these strands, you see these like strands that are popping off? Where's the camera? That means that the glue is good. It's going to stick. It's a little thin. I'm gonna let it, I put too much water, so put it back on the oven and keep it. So now I'm gonna start, you know, I can do that one. Now my neck is gonna go in this way, so there's a little bit of tension there. It's gonna give it a little touch of heat here. Let's just compare that. Yeah, that's better. You just don't want to like force it, you know. So that's actually pretty cool. The neck will come, this will be cut out because the neck will actually get mortised in this way. Or if you choose to nail it, then the neck will be on top of it and nailed. So right, then you're just basically taking your knife, your very sharp knife, and you can draw a line, you can take a square and draw a line, but it really just doesn't have to be that clean. It just because the neck is, it's all getting removed, so I just cut there. Oops. All right. Pop. Yeah. So the pencil line is actually covered by the rib itself. That's pretty accurate. And there's a little bit of tension in here. You know what? So I could roll with it, but since the glue is I put too much water in the glue. I could have used it actually. It would have been fine, that glue, but I prefer to use thick glue on the when I'm making my ribs, you know. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, it's okay. So yeah, it's just, look how hip that is. Look how cool it is. I mean, it's just such a cool outline, this viola. So I'm choosing to go pretty accurate to the pencil line, but this is a moment, this is the whole reason for building this way, is that you have a kind of personal freedom, you know? You don't necessarily have to do the pencil line. You can, if something looks good, if you're like, ooh, I like how that curve works, that's up to you. This is complete freedom. And because of the speed of this method of making these blocks, you can do your corner blocks in, you know, 5 or 6 hours, or you can spend a couple days on them. You could just decide, you know what, I'm going to make a different drawing altogether. Like, I like what I just did. I mean, this should be fun. Ribs are fun. You know? The C-bouts sometimes are not fun because they can be difficult, but yeah, so let's say all of a sudden I decided, wow, I really like the way it is when it's bulging out like that. You see what I mean? It's a really cool way to work. Yeah, I'm just gonna glue that to show the method of gluing, and then do the rest later. So. Actually might yeah, another good rule is when you're gluing, get rid of all the junk that you don't need. Like you don't need these to glue, and they're gonna get wet and rust. So that's a good rule. Get rid of all that junk. Okay. So now you've got your pencil lines, your clamps. Your clamps should be all ready to go, right? They're all ready to go. So then, yeah, that's fine. This is gonna be fine. Yeah, okay. Then you just do a light little bit, and you're careful not to glue it too much to the board, you know? Too much to the dummy board. Again, making sure that it's nice and flat, right? Let's just freshen that up a little bit. Right, so the pencil line is actually covered by the rib. Just did it the wrong way again. All right, there we go. Get your clamp. You actually have you have time with this method. But the glue is starting to set a little bit now, you know what I mean? So before I clamp it, I make sure, are there any gaps? Pushing down on my rib. My hand is pushing down this way while I clamp, right? Got it? Yeah. Now that's it. What you're looking for now here are gaps on this side. I don't see any, but if you do have one trick you can use is to take just one of these tiny old pieces of ribs and you hammer it in. If I had a gap here, I don't really have one. You can actually make these. Then you kind of hammer it in to the Zulage. Am I explaining myself? Let me demonstrate, because this is a very helpful trick. If you're doing this for the first time and you have a gap, you got your Zulage here, yeah? And you notice that there's a little gap between the rib miter. What you do is you can make a special sort of custom wedge, you know, that fits in here. And what it does is it pushes this rib into this rib. But I don't see any gaps. It looks good to me. Another thing you can do is when it's clamped, is just put a tiny little brush of glue right there. Yeah. Right. And that's gonna make a perfect, well, pretty damn good rib miter. So yeah, so that's really fun. So the most important thing to remember is you don't want gaps. Dry clamping first before you do it. Your glue not too thin, not too thick. Wait a minute. This is a good trick. When you're gluing, which I did not do. I'm a pretty sloppy gluer, you know. I don't care about the, you know. If there's a bunch of glue here, I really don't care. But this is a good thing you can just go to afterwards, kind of clean up if you care. It looks nice. right? So, not to get tedious, I will continue this. And then tomorrow morning, we're removing the clamps, which is really a lot of fun. Because you actually have a rib structure, you know? And that is just cool, you know? It's a really good feeling. You know, the instrument goes from being just a few pieces of wood that you haven't invested a lot of time in, you know, and it suddenly springs forward into this shape, you know, and into this very elegant shape, if I may say so. That I love Anton Posch instruments. I love Viennese instruments. So yeah, those are your rules. Dry clamp. Watch out for gaps, and have fun.